Hi there. In this video, I'm going to be looking at operations processes, and more specifically dealing with inputs. So the first stage of the transformation process, from inputs, transformations, and then finally to outputs. So firstly, there's a few inputs that are common regardless of the process. There's labor, there's energy, there's raw materials, and machinery and technology, okay, also known as capital equipment. Now, labor, as the name implies, is the human being, so the human aspect to it, the human resource. Energy, the electricity or the power required to actually operate the business. Raw materials, as the name implies, would be the primary materials used, and machinery and technology, the capital equipment, the actual, as the name says, the actual machinery that is used to carry out the process. The inputs can be categorized, or the resources can be categorized into two broad categories here. There's transformed resources, and then transforming resources, which we'll look at in a second. But transformed resources are the inputs that are actually changed. They're transformed in the operations process. And some examples are materials. Okay, so the basic elements used, so raw materials, so wheat, or a tree before it actually gets turned into lumber strips. And then intermediate materials. Now, intermediate refers to the materials or the goods that have been processed, however, can then be used for further transformation processes. So, for example, metal will then get turned into screws. Now, those screws would be intermediate materials if they're then used as an input for something else. So if the whole process was just making the screws, then they'll be the output, full stop. If they're then used in, let's say, a computer, then those screws become an intermediate good. So they're used as then an input to continue the operations process for something else. So materials are transformed. They go in one way, in one state, and they come out in another state. Okay, in another form. We've got information now. Information is transformed during the process as well. It's used to inform how inputs are used. Okay, so it comes with an element of understanding and analysis. Okay, so taking the information you have and using it to inform how the inputs are then going to be used to make your product. Okay, that's why it's a transformed resource. It comes, it comes to in one way, it is analyzed, and then it is used. And then finally, customers. Now, this one here seems a bit odd as a transformed resource. However, their choices shape the inputs. Okay, because in the end, they're the ones that dictate through their needs and wants what the business is going to be making. Okay, so the reason they're a transformed resource is because they actually, as it says there, their choices shape the inputs used. So if they decide they want one thing, the business needs to make sure that they use that, the different inputs in order to make it for them. Because in the end, the customers are the ones that dictate what a business is going to be making, because they're the ones who are ultimately going to be buying it. They're the ones that are ultimately, benefiting from the business activity. And finally, we have the second category of resources, which is transforming resources. So whereas the transformed resources are the ones that are changed, these are the ones that actually do the changing. So for example, we have human resources. Now, productive, efficient, and well-trained workers carry out the work. So they take the raw materials, they take the information, they take the customer preferences, and they do the transforming. They're the ones that take, whatever's at step one, in the research and design, in the implementation of the product, and then finish it, at step 20 or step 30, however long it takes for them to make the product. They're the ones that are involved in shaping it all. But they can't do it alone. They need facilities, okay? So the plant, factory, or office, and the machinery used in the operations processes that help the transforming as well, okay? A human being just can't take a plank of wood and turn it into a table set without some sort of equipment, okay? So the facilities are just as important as the human aspect of this as well. That's the end of this video. The next video looks at processes in terms of the influence of volume, variety, variation in demand, and visibility, so the 4 Vs. I hope this video has been informative enough for you in terms of operations processes and inputs. Thank you.